Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi, good evening all, and welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. And as usual with me this evening is my colleague and friend.
Hello, everyone. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite. As usual, welcome all on social media, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, our Gael audience throughout the Caribbean. It's 5.8G Alive. Jennifer, we have been having fun.
Yes, and for Trinidad and Tobago, listen, Terry-Ann, we have been having rain and more rain and flood.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seemed to be, I don't recall so much rain in November.
It's climate change. I mean, we can't get away from it. I mean, we can talk about, wow, it's raining, but all over the world, you're seeing changed weather patterns. And I mean, I am looking at one of our main rivers. People in Guyana would laugh at me and say, that's a drain. But for us, it's a river. And I've not seen the Caroni River at the highway as full as it is. And that means that there is destruction going on east of the river. And it's serious. It's a serious issue. Yeah, you know, but as with all things, you have climate change and we have to change. And Jennifer, I'm really proud of us. The series that we've just concluded, which we started when we talked about taking care of yourself, and we started with Andrew Nunes talking about property. It was so much, we had to do it in 2 sections. You know, then we went on, after Andrew, we went on to Bernard Shepherd to talk about law. And then the banker.
Yes, we move on to talking about all about banking and, you know, what we should look for and being careful at this stage, you know, and planning for the future.
What I really liked about the banking episode, Jen, is, you know, that stress on we really have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, we assume that, well, you know, they should let us redefine print. They should. No, they shouldn't. They give us a document and they always say, please read everything. And we sign. And I think that theme of self-responsibility to protect ourselves, to go forward, continued throughout, and then in the end with Dr. Rouse, we got an even stronger dose of that being responsible for self. You know?
Terry-Ann, we are now looking forward, now that we have tied up the series, we are looking forward to our forum.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's one thing we get that information, but we need to really get together and ask the questions and get the solutions so you can move on, because we're in November, 1 month again, then 2023. We're not going into 2023 not prepared.
Yeah.
And you know, so we want to ensure that you all are prepared, not just for 2023 and beyond.
Yeah. And Jen, so many people said that after they looked at each of the programs, whether it was with the architect, whether it was with the banker, the lawyer, or with Dr. Rouse, who looked at the socio-economic side of things, there were so many questions that they had that they just needed answers to and clarification about. And, you know, we provide solutions. So
And that's why, based on the questions to Terian, a lot of information, you asked about doing, power of attorney, what to do, etc., etc. And we thought, yes, you know what? In this forum, we're going to have Bernard Shepherd, cover all the areas, the legal aspect, and of course, Dr. Rouse to cover the other aspect. So combined, really and truly, at the end of the day, at the end of that forum, all your questions should be answered. You should be really ready and prepared to go into 2023, smiling.
Yeah. And
and
Jennifer,
enthusiastic.
To people who are not familiar, because we keep getting new viewers every week.
Yeah.
People may not be familiar with what we're talking about when we say a forum, as opposed to the 5.8G Alive program, which we're looking at. And it's important that you understand during this program, 5.8G Alive, we and our guests raise a lot of issues that are pertinent to us, and they get you thinking. But sometimes we know you have to go in depth. You have to step back because there are issues pertinent to you personally, or you want an opportunity to ask a specific question in a private space. And that's why every so often we would have these private forums that are hosted on our Zoom platform on a dedicated page, where you, once you pay to register for the forum, you can participate, and you can participate anonymously if you choose to, cameras, or change your name, but then you can ask all the questions and get the individual attention, and you have 3 hours to do it in, so it is a real bargain, the kind of access you get to the talent you get to answer the questions that you would have had.
And Terian, I'm glad you pointed that out again, because as Bernard mentioned, and we know, our cohort tend to be very private and secretive, and in a forum.
And that is not a good thing.
And they don't like to talk out, or they're scared to ask a question. And I'm glad you mentioned that, for those who, scared to show their faces. And that's why we're having it like this on a Zoom platform, where to get you to open up, to get you to ask the questions. And again, as Terian said, if you don't want to put your real name, if you don't want to show your face, our main thing is that you attend and you get all your concerns and your questions answered, and that you make that change in your life that will make you a better person and make, really move forward in that happy, fulfilled, that mood. Yeah.
Definitely. So for today, Jen, we are going to go through what is going to happen in that forum to encourage you to get yourself registered and show up. So we are heading to In Tune to allow you to get with the program, get real, and get ready for 2023.
So Terian, we're going to be doing a recap and chat about it.
Yeah.
Here we are. And I am hoping for those who haven't been able to view the show with Dr. Rouse and also the show with Bernard, that please, please, please go back, go to our YouTube channel or Facebook page and view it. There's such critical information, and we are just showing you, short clips from that and chat more about it.
Yeah. Jennifer, I think they need to look at all of them, because arising from Andrew's show and arising from the show with the banker, there are questions that have to be answered by an attorney around property responsibility.
Oh, yes, that's true.
And there are questions that can arise that Mr. Shepherd or even Dr. Rouse may be able to advise in terms of what have our seniors been doing with regard to our banking and things like that. So it will be a good idea for you to review all of the programs. But for now, Jan, we're going to start with one clip and then we talk about it.
Yeah, great.
So this is Dr. Rouse's first.
Yes, what I'm discovering from the ground, because I like to be on the ground swell, mix and mingle, listen, whether it's the barber shop talk or when I buy my nuts from the vendor, you hear that conversation. And I realize more and more how much ignorance there is in the environment, and when we don't know, and then when we don't know that we don't know, that's another chapter all by itself. What I'm also noticing, and all of this ties in, is that the whole question, what COVID ushered in as a negative externality coming out of that, was the amount of deaths that occurred in looking at Trinidad and Tobago, where we will be in 2025. And you could say we're in 2023 already, 1 foot already there. So in 2 years, we are going to be 17.1%. That is 245,000 persons over 60. Over 200 of which are centenarians. We live in. Now, it's good news to know that the lifespan, the longevity is going through the roof. But for the economists, it's bad news in the sense that they cater for when we will be dying. They look at the life expectancy ratio and say, well, with pension, if even we put on a little 500 there, they will be dead by 70. Oh, yeah? 70 is now midlife. Yeah. We are referred to as the most privileged cohort, the most spoiled. But you know what came with that? We didn't save. We were the worst savers of money. Yeah. The stark reality of what I see a lot, of course, with the millennials. A major thing that I have noticed with many of them, they're not curious in asking questions, like if even we preface something, well, in my day, well, that's like a red flag for them. Oh, Lord, there we go again, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, like everything else, this is not one size fits all, that all of them are like this. But a critical mass of them, this is their thinking. Because remember, we are leaving a world for them that is yawning temporariness. Are we prepared psychologically, emotionally, physically to deal with loss? Now, this loss not only covers warm bodies. The main one that I see affecting most of my peers is loss of independence. In every threat, there is opportunity. And what I'm seeing, because I'm doing it, and this is where their economics and the finances have to also be budgeted for. Mm-hmm. Sell the car, and there are young, this is where I want to make sure this is brought up in the forum, that intergenerational link. Mm-hmm. You have to have the whole question of trust.
Yes, Jennifer.
We really need to understand what Dr. Rouse has said. Many of us don't seem to know what is happening, And when Dr. Rouse mentioned, when she gave a bit of the statistics, and how many 50 plus, so many of our cohort would be still, would be alive, we living. Because we are living much longer than before. But are we aware, Terrian, and that's what, are we aware how critical it is? When is it, 2025?
Mhm.
You know, what's going to be happening then? If we look to the future and we would understand how many of us, the whole, the pressure it would be on the economy, on the government to support such a large number of let me say it, elderly. We don't like to talk about the elderly, but that's a fact. So we have to really prepare, look at how are we going to take care of ourselves and not depend on the younger ones, the millennials, you know, or the government.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And how are we going to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that clip from Dr. Rouse, you know, it's one thing to say, all right, this, we're going to be such a significant part of the population in 2025, or even we look at a period 2025 to 2050. That's a 25-year period. In 2050, a lot of us, the middle group of us, are going to be going into our 90s, and it's plausible we're going to be alive. We're going to be alive at that time. But, you know, you're going into this long period having not appropriately saved. You don't have finances, you don't have backup,
Yeah.
as they say. The millennials are not as prepared. So it means that for all of the systems in life that need to be managed and financed, because everything comes down to money. Everything comes down to money. Whether it is housing, whether it is how we get around from point to point, whether it's who takes responsibility first, given that the Gen Z probably not going to be in a position, and you know, I think she said they're not curious, they're not interested. You know, it means that we really do have to think differently. We have to come up with different solutions. And one thing that we are focusing on in the forum is discussing the feasibility of other options,
Yes.
other approaches, so that we would not end up like deer in the headlight and just not collapsing and not knowing what to do. You know, forewarned is forearmed. And that's what we're trying to do. Because Jennifer, is a lot of years to live, you know, it's 25 to 30.
Oh, yes. And you know what we don't want is for people to give up. Even now, Terry Ann, you may hear saying, well, you know, well, let me go back a bit. Dr. Rouse mentioned that our cohort, we didn't save. We thought we saved, but clearly many of us didn't save enough. Let me put it that way. All right. And now that there could be, and there is panic, you know, panic, especially when you listen and you hear about the statistics and say, you know, gosh, 30 years, what I'll do, I have no money. But Dr. Rouse started saying, and one thing she must bring up, and she would bring up in the forum, is the solution. What can we do? Mm-hmm. And she started by suggesting a simple thing where we look at how we could partner with the millennials, with our children, and sit down and talk and partner with them in certain ways where we help each other. And to do that, of course, we need to sit down and share ideas and listen to the experts, what they come up with. Yeah. And I am sure we would be able to apply to our own situation. Yeah. Many of the solutions that will be recommended, it's applicable to most people.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too, I mean, people may say that I kind of write off the young people. I don't know. I'm not writing them off. I'm just very real that some of them will not be in a position to sit down and talk, because while you may say we've not saved enough, I believe that a significant amount of us did save, but because of the problem with the millennials,
yes,
we have had to take those savings and bail them out in any number of ways. We paid for education beyond what we planned. We bought vehicles. We paid down on houses. We paid off credit card debt. We gave vacations and we gave a lifestyle that they just carried on and enjoyed. And we did it with the best intention of providing a fantastic life for our children in the hope that when they were established, they would be able
to help. Yes, yes, yes.
But now the economy has not allowed them to be established. They're not taking up the slack, and they are still very much dependent on us as adults. Dr. Rouse said they're not curious because a lot of them are comfortable in a small space doing their hustle. But it means that we are left without the savings backing, facing another 30 years of living to do with increasing expenses. So we can't look to them. So if they can work in an intergenerational arrangement, that's great. But that's a great solution. But I think the group, as she recalled, a huge cohort is the childless spinster. They call them that, the unmarried childless senior woman, or widowed or divorced with children who have migrated. You're standing on your own. And women or men, it's not just something peculiar to women. It's women or men. So that requires us to really have to come up with a solution that has, I don't know that any generation in the past has had to deal with this.
And actually doing it right. And it's quite interesting because Dr. Rouse said that, and Bernard Shepard, when he was speaking, mentioned the same thing, you know, in terms of looking at where we are now. And we are really the first cohort to be going through these experiences, you know, at this time.
So Jennifer, perhaps now is a good time to listen to what Bernard had to say.
Yes, I would say yes.
And I like how you put it there, the 5.8 vintage, because I think it's important. I consider that those generations to be the earning generations. So they were the people who started with nothing, who built something, and now they have to make a decision as to what will I do with the things that I have earned during my lifetime. Well, I think it's important that one has to understand the idiosyncrasies of that generation. Those generations, I should say, those are the persons who really do talk the business in public. And yes, you are correct. Those generations are the distrusting generations, you know. They say that, you know, when people used to say, people mustn't know what's going on in your house, kind of thing. But what is important is that you also have to understand that what you have worked so hard to build can topple in 3 seconds because you have failed to do what you are supposed to do. The take care of syndrome. You know, no parent wants to admit that they have a bastard child or a prodigal son. And, you know, in our society, we hear the parent, he was a nice boy. Well, every parent, and if you look at it from a contextual position, I have nice children. They all are nice. They will take care, but they will not. They will take care of themselves. Yes. You know, it will be sharks in a barrel. But at the end of the day, you can't expect as a person to have taken care of someone all of your life, and then all of a sudden you drop down, and they must now be entrusted with that, or the responsibilities, the powers, the decision making to be able to do that overnight. They have no experience. So no, they will not be able to do it.
Terrian is real talk.
And we know it, you know. We know it. And we sit in and we are worrying. we are worrying, we're looking at the children. We love them, huh? We love them. And some of them, a lot of them want to do better. They've been educated, but the economy is just in a place where they can't do what we expected them to do. They're well educated with professions, with technical training, with skills, but the economies just don't have room for them. So what are we to do?
I want Terry-Ann to talk a bit about us being so private and so secretive and don't want them to know what's happening, the real truth. At this stage, because of all the occurrences, it is important for us to have that open conversation, you know, because to me, that is the only way for us to move forward, We recognize, and you said it, with the change in economy, all the goals that we had planned for them and for ourselves, not all were realized, and many we had to shelve because when you face reality, it just can't happen. Yeah. So we have to start a chat. But before we have the conversation, we have to recognize the position we're in. Do we have anything? Do we really have money saved, or we have no money saved? You know, can we afford to live the lifestyle we are living now as a family, or should we cut back? You know, what changes have to be made? And when you go back a bit with Andrew's talk, where we look at what asset do we have? How do we maintain our asset or increase the value in our asset? You know, so we would have some equity. These are real things for us to talk about. And we have to chat with the same people who we depending on to take care of us. And Bernard said it. We depending on them to take care of us, but they don't know what we have. They don't know how we thinking. They haven't been shown what to do. You know, there are many of the, and this is not in any way putting them down, because if you don't know, you don't know. Dr. Rao said sometimes we don't even know that we don't know. And that is, you know, many of the millennials, many of them may not even know about proper the banking system. Yes, they're educated, but in our education system, we always say that money and business is not really taught. I mean, unless you're doing, and even those who are doing business, is not about practical, it's a lot about theory. Okay? So if we don't share and we don't let them know what's going on, Bernard said it, how do we expect them to take care of us, or if not just take care of us, help us when we need their help, you know? So yes, it will be really interesting at that forum to hear from you all who would be joining us, why exactly you don't want to share, why you don't want your loved ones to know your business at this stage, you know? And I am sure when you express your concerns about that, you would get that solution and the answer from the, either one of the presenters, either from Dr. Rouse or from Bernard, as to why not. And I believe Bernard did state at some stage here, everything could be lost. If you make the wrong decision, you could lose so much by not knowing what to do, you know?
Yeah. And as I say, there are always two sides to it, because there are some who will respond to talking to them, But there are others where you know it makes no sense because 40, 50 years of a life that doesn't allow you to prioritize saving, industriousness, and so on, especially when you start to decline, you're not going to be their priority. And one of the things that is a reality with a lot of our cohort is that we are asset rich and cash poor.
Yes.
And we cannot monetize a lot of our assets. So we have homes that you have, it's the only asset you have. So selling it is not an option. Because if you sell it, you're homeless. You have a lot of family in that home still. So dividing it or making it a rental or something like that may not be an asset for you. And then we have homes that are filled with things that are of value to us, but no value whatsoever to the generation to come. So the bottom line is that there is a housing crisis that is coming up. And some of us have to make hard decisions, really hard decisions, because you would look at the asset that you have and you would look at your whoever is left to deal with it. And you will ask yourself, can you maintain this? Can you maintain it in the way that it should be made, should be maintained? How you look at life. Is it worth your while to have a house, a big house? Or do you prefer to take a small little apartment somewhere and rent it until things get better for you? When we are really honest and we have that conversation, a lot of our children, the people we plan to pass on our riches to, the 5-bedroom, 3-story house, or the house in San Fernando when their life is focused in the north, or the holiday home in the other island, and they're not interested in that. We really have to sit down and think about, okay, these are the aspects of our legacy. You're going to leave them to someone in the next 25, 30 years when you are going to pass. But you have to live. I go back to that in the process. And how do you put arrangements in place? What legal arrangements do you put in place? What kind of social arrangements, asset sharing that you can put in place to allow you to live comfortably, reasonably comfortably in the period? And at the end of it, okay, the descendants will have something they could choose to do whatever they want to do with it. Yeah. But you have to put some arrangements in place to protect yourself and to make sure that your assets is not frittered away within 2 years of your passing. That's a very, very critical discussion that you have to have with yourself more than with the others who are not interested in your big mahogany table.
And for those of you who didn't get a chance to look at the full program, the whole episode with Bernard Shepherd, please, we're asking you to do it again, because guess what? What Terry Ann just said. You know, there's a thinking, for those who didn't watch it, may still be thinking, well, I don't have any root. I don't need to do a will. Or I don't have any beneficiaries to worry about. Or don't worry, they're going to be able to fend for themselves. And we're very dismissive of very important situations. You know, Terry Ann just outlined it very well about the assets we dismiss. You know, or we may say, all we have is a house and I'll leave it and all those children can live in it. It do not work so. So you're going to get the answers. How can you, whether you have a house or no house, whether you have just a car, whether you have nothing, because if you have nothing, guess what? You may have nothing, but you're living until age 90. If you're 60, that's 30 more years. So
Yeah.
if you have nothing now at 60,
Or 50, or 40.
and you have no plans to do anything but to sit back, just to live on whatever coming in, then if anything happened to you, and when we say it could be so many different type of incidentals, many different things. The roof blow off for your house, simple like that in these days.
Mm-hmm.
Bernard said it. Who you going to turn to?
Yep.
You turn into those who you never empowered in any way. So you need to understand why it is for you to prepare. Each person is different, but we don't know. They kept, both professionals kept saying, we are the first generation, the first cohort to be in this situation, who came out of the workplace, you know? So nobody taught us. We didn't learn these things from our parents. We self-taught when it comes into this sort of situation.
That is still learning with OJT and the job.
Yes. So we have to be willing to sit with professionals. This is their area. They have studied both of them. Again, when you listen to both shows, you would know they are well-established, well-qualified, well-experienced professionals. This is an opportunity for us, the 5.8G tribe, to get together, to ask the questions. Start writing down your questions.
Watch the shows and write ask questions. Yes, watch the shows and write down your questions.
Because it's 3 hours, 3 hours for you to be getting all this information and having the opportunity to ask your question that will affect you and your life as you go along.
So Jennifer, there are so many touch points that we have to deal with. We call this thing keeping it real, getting real. And we at Connections really want people not to be afraid, not to be scared, but to be realistic and prepare for an independent, happy life. It may not be as grand as the one you just had, but hey, you don't need to be as grand.
Carrie-Ann, I am actually, I saw you posted it, and the other friend posted it. It's just a story of someone who has to prepare their mindset to go into a nurse home because of their situation. And again, this is just repeating the fact that, yes, we are the cohort that now have to think differently. What we know, and I recall my dad, who died at the time, he died at 93, and he told us there's no way that he would want to be put into a home because of his thinking what a home would have been like, treating him bad, etc., etc. And I'm just saying this, in terms of preparation, it is so important with our mindset. The real situation that occurring now, and there are so many areas that still a bit greater as we think we know, but we don't really know. But there are areas that definitely will affect us. And one major one, it was Dr. Rouse spoke about it, Bernard spoke about it, Robert, our banker, spoke about it, Nunes spoke about it, all affecting us and money, finances, our financial situation. As a financial coach, when I speak with clients, and first thing they will tell me, well, the money have to come from somewhere, and they tend to not want to face the reality of if you have no money. And I would always say, the fact that you have no money, then is when you have to plan. Because you have to understand It may not be cash in hand, but you have to know the little you have, how best to secure it.
Jennifer, I want to make a point here on that point. I will say we don't realize. We really, some of us believe that because we have the assets around us, the mortgage is done, so we have the house.
Yes.
And you have the car, and you have the appliances, and everything is pretty and everything is nice.
You can live. You're living good.
You're living, you have all the accoutrements of maintaining a standard of life that you would have had before. But as we grow older and the children go off and establish their own lives, these things do become burdens.
Yeah.
Because you can't, they were meant for you, a partner, and for children. Now it's you. You still have to maintain the big house. You still have to secure it. All of those things cost money. Cost money that you do not have now. And just not the simple act of opening a window and opening a door every day helps to keep the door and the window working. If you leave a room in the back and you don't go into that room and you don't open those windows for 6 months, you have a jam, rust, all kinds of things happen, and your property deteriorates. It deteriorates if you don't let air go through. So sometimes we have to get to the point where the thing that defined our status and defined our life might very well be the thing that drags us down into poverty, especially when your children and grandchildren have migrated and lived abroad. And you have to think of, is this thing now an asset still? Should I share my home with someone? What are the arrangements, legal or otherwise, for me to bring in someone into my home and share living expenses?
And what I would advise at this stage, especially for those who are going to be attending the forum, because you want to ensure that you, even in asking questions, that you are prepared, is when you come into your assets, start to list your things. So when Bernard is chatting, you would be able to say, okay, my worth right now, and if you have to ask a question there, you will know that, okay, this is my root. I have X amount in things, whatever it is in the house. I have a property or car or whatever. You need to be aware of what is your status at this stage. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't done it before, this is the time to do it. So you can face that reality. So when the Bernard or Dr. Rouse is speaking, you would be able to understand what they're saying, to ask the question that will guide you to know what is the solution for you.
Yeah.
So when it comes into finances, yes, Terian, they need to understand. Yes, we may be, and people say, I don't need that. I know I got a comment from someone saying, I'm not sure if I need that. No, I good, I good. I can handle my situation. But I know this person.
Yeah.
And Terry, and I'm telling you, a lot of the information, I know. She don't know.
Yeah. The thing about it, another area that we think we're doing very well with is that we have lots of jewelry. And I'm going to do a simple thing. The fancy watch you paid a couple of $1,000 for the other day, big brand, could be Rado, could be whatever the fancy brand is.
Yeah.
In today's era of digital watches, smart watches, nobody wants that watch, and that watch has little value to you. So some of the and then you may have pearls, you may have diamonds, you may have gold and silver, you may have beautiful brooches, all of these things which were counted as accoutrements and complements to your wealth. Today, they are not used. They aren't relevant to today's economy. So when you sit down and you say, I am good, and you think that when you think of what is your wealth, just think, okay, what are the things that are going to carry me? Separate assets from cash. What is the cash that you have that will allow you to maintain housing, pay for care for you as you go down in age, to pay for transport, pay for groceries, where's that money? Pensions are fixed things. So you've got to really think of, what can I do? How can I consolidate? How can I arrange to live more collectively, either with the children or with friends? Because I think sharing with friends or other people is going to become a significant issue. And Jennifer,
Terry, and that brings me, that's very true. And I want to refer to what Dr. Rouse asked in the question, are we prepared psychologically? Are we prepared emotionally? You know, and that, Terry, and what you're speaking about there is a complete change of mindset.
yeah. And
Because remember, at this stage in our lives, most of us have been living what we may see as an independent life, whether it's selfish or not, but we have been living, it was all about, and I'm not knocking it at all, that's fine. It was all about us and our little family, because this is all we could have
not
dealt with.
community. It was not community. Yeah.
So all
The
we knew, we
nucleus of
went
the
to work,
nuclear
we came
family.
back, we have our families to pull together, and it took up all our time. Now at this stage where we may not have that family members with us again, guess what? We started to feel a bit of aloneness. let me say it like that. And that will affect us about thinking clearly, because when we start to feel like that, fear steps in, fear steps in. And from the time the fear steps in, we either draw back, withdraw, and don't want, again, being very secretive, don't want to talk the truth. In some cases, and I'm just going off a little bit, but actually in some cases, some people may be ill, they're not feeling well, but they don't even want to talk about that at all.
Yeah.
So how do we prepare ourselves? How do we prepare our heads to address these things? It's by sharing. It's by attending a forum like what we are having. Attend the forum. Listen to others share. You would find that you may think that you're in a bad situation. And when you hear someone share their story, you recognize, hey, I got, my solution is easy for me to deal with my situation. So we learn from each other, and we have the subject experts, we have the guidance, they're coming from them, guiding us, take action. So we spoke about that, the financial aspect, but we also need to understand the emotional. And when we talk emotional, obviously too, it ties in with our health. And we said health in the show, we said health is not just about you eating vegetables and drinking plenty of water, or you going to the gym or have a gym instructor. Sometimes we think that's health, but no, there are so many other aspects, emotionally, psychologically, that could just destroy us.
When we read all of the literature on aging, and let's not get caught up in the word aging. You are in the 60, you're aging.
We live in.
Yes, we live in, and we are in that post period. The one thing that most quickly contributes to a deterioration in health or rapidly helps to restore health is community. You could run up and down in the gym, you could eat vegetables, you could drink water, you could do all those things. You could go and have a psychiatrist keeping your mind straight. But you see, if you walk back to an empty house and you have no one to talk to and interact with, you will be a healthy and fit corpse very, very soon. And that point where health is concerned, what community are you in? And Jennifer, let me give a little story that is, again, very, very personal, that we look at in terms of post my mother's passing. It is time now to manage the survivor, my father.
Yeah.
I am learning so many parallels. So he has realized, and we realize, I can't stay in this big house. No one's life is based there. So what do you do? And we're exploring, we're having the conversation as you had. And we realize, and he realizes, that a lot of the ideas that are driving and shaping his view of living anywhere else but in his own house were formed when he was 6. An 89-year-old man. All of the preconceived notions. And when we ask, so all right, you have this view of living in a retirement home. You have this view of living with your children. You have this view of living. All of it was wrong, because living with your child 50 years ago, when that daughter may have been a housewife, and you had space, the whole arrangement of families was different, is not the same as today, when coming to a child's house will leave you probably more lonely than if you stayed in your own house, because everyone's schedule is so different. Then the notion of what actually is elder care. A lot of us listen to Nancy's stories, exceptional stories about a few instances of abuse in unmanaged and unsupervised homes. And most of us cannot say the last time that we visited a retirement home. On this show, we have been presenting you with what living in a retirement home is like, what kind of community you can have. And many of us are going on a 50-year-old experience or a story that somebody told somebody about something that somebody said. And we have not gone to check these things out ourselves. And balance, do you prefer to live imprisoned in your own home with all the safety risks than to go somewhere, join a community, face a few rules, and have people around to keep your mind active and healthy? You know, so Jennifer, we talk about
Rihanna, when you think about it, and I know there's still our listeners who may be saying, Terry Ann could say anything, but I'm not going in any home when my time comes. That's okay, but guess what? If that is a decision you want to make from now, you need from now,
prepare.
Just prepare. And Dr. Rouse did mention there's so many solutions, because remember, we are pioneers. Everything we're coming up with new, based on Terry Ann is making the decision and her father based on what's happening now, not what happened to her grandfather.
Nope.
No, that was then. You have to look at your situation now. Nothing wrong if you don't want to go into a home. Nothing wrong if you don't want to sell your house or divide your house or go live with somebody else, right? But if your plan is to say, okay, when time comes, I'll go and live with my daughter or son, you have to remember that is something you have to discuss with them now.
Yes.
And you should also have a contingency plan. And let me tell you, don't focus on age to say, I am only 50, I can't worry about that now. I am 60, I'm very healthy and I'm going good. I am 70, my mother went to 100, so listen to me, I will reach there. No. Of course, you want to reach there and you may just reach there. That's fine, but it's how you're going to reach there.
Yep.
So nothing is wrong with one person may say, okay, I tell my children, listen to me. I understand what is happening. If I could decide, and like that person, I could book myself. I could book myself into a home, a bucket, you know, like how you register for kindergarten and you have to go early about from the time the child born because you want a good school or good kindergarten. I want a good home. So I can be registering early and make sure there is enough money there because I like the community there. Because listen to me, I much prefer that community than me. Or build your own community. Build your own community. Say, well, okay, I'm not leaving my house, but I am starting to talk to a good friend who's similar to me, who living alone all now. And we say, here now, let's see if we can work it together because listen, we're trying it out now when we're still healthy. Because if we can holiday together and enjoy ourselves or the company of each other, if she can spend a weekend by me or I by her, then guess what? That is not the person you'll spend the next 30 years, listeners, 20 years.
Exactly.
So it may sound, this is not trivial. This is
real. It is there. It is right there.
Right? And the only way we're going to find the answers is to sit and discuss, share, and that's how we're going to get the answers from the expert. It's not coming from us. It's not coming from our friend who dressed like us. We grew up the same way. We worked hard. We brought up our families. And all we're talking about now is good down the road. We ain't got nobody living with us. It's a fact. Because we didn't have, many of us, I should say, our cohort, didn't have 5 or 6 children. Huh?
Yeah, 2 and 1 and 3.
A few of us may have had 3 or 4. The percentage
very
that
few had 4.
More than
very
3
few.
Is a small percentage.
I'm wondering, which of my peers have 4 children? Wow.
And listen to me, in addition to that, we are the generation where many of our children migrated. Out of the 2, sometimes all 2 went. Out of the 3, Terrian could tell you. Out of 4, 3 went, 1 remained. And when they've settled their lives up there, they're not coming back. All fairness, they already created their life. And I'll share one story, it's real. Very, very recently. And this is someone I know well. Happy, let me tell you. Retired, good job, full works. Really, really doing well. Knocking about, have a car and going good. 2, both of them living overseas. Suddenly, and I'm saying suddenly because 1 week she got, the next week she felt a little pain, whatever, went to the doctor, diagnosed, and realized the illness she was diagnosed with, she could be crippled over time. Progressively, it will get worse and she will not be able to be as active as she is. And her daughter said, listen, you have to come up, because we know if you come up, you're getting medical care, we're there to help you and all that. Her choice. You could stay, but you're facing what? A reality. It's best you go up where you can get good medical care, better medical care, and you're with family and community. It was very, very heartbreaking for her, but guess what, Victoria? She had to sell the house, the car, and pack up and go. Your life is changed. Anything could happen. My thing is, prepare for the best, the ideal situation, put things in place for the ideal. And guess what? You must have a contingency in place,
Absolutely.
right? And I will repeat it because we are talking about our upcoming forum, which is for next week.
Tuesday, the
We are
29th
looking
of
at Tuesday,
November.
the 29th. We are having it on Zoom. It's from 6 o'clock to 9.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's such an easy registration. You just click the link we provided and that's it. But guess what? Space is limited
Mhm.
because we want you to be comfortable. We want all your questions to be answered. We want at the end of the forum listening, you're well prepared. Right?
Yes. And it's a
So-
fraction of the cost, $300. And you
300
have
alone.
the ability to speak to Bernard Shepard, the managing partner of the law firm Lex Caribbean, and to Dr. Jennifer Ross, gerontologist. You know what the hourly rate for these professionals are. So this is your opportunity to get real advice, real solutions in a group, safe setting. So Jennifer, we will see you all next Tuesday.
And seriously, don't delay. This is serious. This is really, really getting real and taking action. You're not going to get a next forum like this. Seriously. Unless we do a repeat. I'm not sure about it.
That would happen.
Yes.
So it's been a wonderful evening. We really, really look forward to a successful 2023. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. So when we come back to 5.8G Alive, we will go through in summary,
Yes.
but not giving details, what has happened, and those who would have attended would be saying, yes, it's a good thing. And please try not to be among the set that said, oh gosh, why didn't I? So we will see you next week. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
50 Plus Tribe and followers from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.